Is a job a right or a privilege? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this question I put to the audience of the channel on the community tab here on YouTube. I put the poll, is a job a right or a privilege? Now I asked that because when we were looking at the calls workers striking, the United Workers Union put forward the argument, or the statement, that they believed a job is a right, that everyone has a right to a job. Now that really rubbed me the wrong way, because from my perspective, a job is created by someone else. They aren't just magicked out of thin air. You may say, oh, but the government can create jobs. No, the government takes money off other people under duress and then uses that to create jobs. It's different to an individual risking their own livelihood, their own life, their own assets, their own wealth, everything they've accumulated to give someone a job. So I always thought you should have the perspective that a job is a privilege, something you need to strive for to get, and something you should be glad that you have because other people are making sacrifices to provide that opportunity for you. Now that could just be, well, that's my bias coming through there. You know, as quite an independent-minded only child of I'm a first-generation Australian from immigrants. So you can see where, you know, how that my childhood has shaped my perspective. But others are arguing that a job is a right. 30% of people are arguing a job is a right. We need to think about that. Now, okay, we should all have the right to search for a job. That's what some people are saying. And we'll go through the comments here. You've got the right to search for a job, but it's a privilege to actually get one. I thought that was quite appropriate. I like that one. Because right now we have certain legislation around Australia in different states and different political parties which discriminate against certain groups. We've all seen the adverts, you know, where positive discrimination are based on things beyond people's control. Sure, discriminating against someone because of a lack of skill or education or training or maybe even work ethic, there's nothing wrong with that. But should you discriminate against someone based on their race or their gender? Is that fair? That's happening in Australia right now. You know, but don't worry, it's positive discrimination. It's you can't have it both ways, guys. But that's what the lefties want. You know, it's okay to discriminate. I'll have a shot of coffee. It just comes down to, in many ways, I'd argue, it comes down to racism of low expectations and sexism of low expectations. But there you have it. So let's have a look at some of the comments that people have made, because most people think it is a privilege, but still a big chunk think it's a right. That could just be the makeup of the viewership of the channel. So, and a few other questions I should ask: where people think the channel sits on a political spectrum. So, Anya's time. You have no rights and no privileges, but you may have luck. Now, I think luck is a big part of people achieving. You know, luck, fortuitous, something just happens. You know, that's you can't discount that. But you have to be in the right mindset to take advantage of it. You know, you have to be in the right mindset. You have to, you know, have the skill set. It has to be the right time of your life. All of these things have to come together. You have to prepare to be there when Lady Luck comes knocking and you can take advantage of it. You know, that's you'd have to agree with that. We've all had opportunities come in front of us, and if you were ready to pounce on them, boom. You know, is that luck, or is it a bit of both? So, Dale's going, it's neither a job, it's survival unless you're born into privilege. Well, is a job just survival? Is it really just survival? Some people say you need it, which is true. Well, the thing is, if you get on the hamster wheel or the rat race in life and you're just running through it, and you think you need to pay for this, you need this, you get all these debts, these credit cards, you've got these afterpay bills, you've got these fees for the kids, this, and this. It can feel like you just need it to survive, you're not getting ahead. But sometimes you can realize you don't actually need as much as you think. You know, I think some people will realize that. I think they will realize it. Well, you know, it is. He's right. You do need a job to survive. Well, not really. Not in Australia. Some people are surviving without a job, which is kind of sad. But actually getting one, I would argue, is a privilege. So let's look at these replies. Editor is concerned about insurance and super funds. And, well, you just need to get a good broker, lads. A good broker on your side that you have a relationship with. Take him out to beers. I know most of you won't, not for cars and private stuff, but I'm thinking more for business. I had a $40,000 claim on, no, sorry, $20,000 claim on a scanner when one of my staff broke it. That was fun. And the broker did a really good job. No problems at all. But here, Fox 6 is saying, most jobs are working at the poverty level. Now, and it's only just survival. Now, I think the problem is we've got a huge K-shaped economy here. You've got, if we look at wages, median wage, the median one, for all industries is $1,100 a week. You know what's skewing it? When they say the average wage on ABS, and we'll look it up. We'll look it up here. Is $17.13. It's the mining, guys. It's the mining sector that's pulling it up. That's the thing. That's where we're getting this number from. So yeah. So you're gonna have some people that are doing well that are not at a poverty level, not at survival. But the thing is, you need to live your life within your means, and I think a lot of people aren't doing that here in Australia. That's where financial literacy needs to come in. You know, get access to your super if you do this training course, or even get access to voluntarily manage 5% of it. So, T-Tail's given a reference to George Carlyle. We'll have to look him up. Gaddav thinks neither. Okay, Lord of Randomness 13. You have the right to a job, but not necessarily the privilege of being employed. So I think, yeah, a good point there too. I mean, you shouldn't be discriminated against from getting a job. I mean, in all fairness and decency, but businesses will. They will. Think about it. If you had a warehouse job in Victoria, or sorry, in New South Wales, are you going to want to have one of the calls workers that went on strike there in your business? Do you think people will? What have they said? How? So let's see what he says here. I see the ability to have a job like freedom of speech. No one should have the power to prevent you from having a job, just like you should be able to say what you want. But that doesn't mean you are owed a position in a business. Just like no one has to listen to your speech, you have the right to work for yourself, which requires no effort from anyone else. Does that make it clear? A little, but you're correct. Yeah, I mean, a very good point. Too bad there's certain jobs in Australia where they will deny you. You know, if you're in my demo, white blokes, you know, there you go. We all saw the test that was done where they removed identifying features from civil servant job applications. And they found when the identifying features were there, there was a racial preference against white men in Australia. You know, there you go. I did a video on that ages ago. I'm assuming something like that is common knowledge now. Is that common knowledge, guys? Let me know in the comments, because I'm assuming everyone's aware that there's such racism prevalent in the public service here in Australia. You know, let me know. Maybe I should ask that in another community question, just to kind of get a feel. And here, NP, I'm going to heart this one because it's awesome. Neither. In a true socialist society, it's mandatory. Yep, NP has it right there. There we go. T-Tal 11. Neither a job is a job. It's not a privilege to work. It is an agreement between two parties. If your work is valuable enough to secure employment, you are useful, not privileged. Privilege would be if you got a job not based on merit. Well, good point. how many people are getting a job not based on merit? Or how many people get the job as opposed to someone else based on characteristics that tick a box? A job should certainly not be a right. Whenever you have a right, you have an equal and opposite responsibility placed on a counterparty. It is each individual's responsibility to be useful and get gainful employment. In today's society, should there be some basic level of subsistence income guaranteed as a right? I think so. We effectively have this with social programs. So he's arguing for a basic subsistence income. What do you think, everyone? What do you think? I mean, you know what? I'm going to resize. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Make a slight change so you can see it all. Slight change so you can see it all. Yeah. I haven't printed this out, guys. I'm just doing it on my browser at the moment, so it's perfectly dodgy. So what do you think? I mean, our social programs, welfare, I consider it as an emergency that you can draw upon. And I know many people are arguing replacing it with UBI, Universal Basic Income. And in principle, it sounds great, but the problem is, to make UBI really work, you need to remove all the machinations and bureaucrats and organizations that now feed off this welfare industry and their powerful lobbying, in our political system. They've got powerful lobbying power. Do you think that's going to happen? Could you imagine all of the workers at Centrelink being fired and put on UBI? Oh, it would be brilliant. I think a lot of people would love it. I think a lot of people who had to deal with them would love it. So no, good point there, T-Towel. I like it. There you go, give you like. So, Odin. This is actually a real difficult question. My first reaction is that a job is a privilege. The problem is that we have no ability to not be part of society. We are forced to participate in society. The only way to have any kind of life is to have a job, so it should be a right. I'm actually really torn by the question. Good question. So, you're right. I mean, you can go wild, can't you? Just not participating in society. Would you say MGTOW monk mode is a manifestation of that? A modern manifestation about people actively choosing to step away and to not participate or limit their participation. I was talking to a gentleman months ago, and he's in a kind of like a splinter, I'd say fundamentalist Christian sect who follow a lot of the old Jewish teachings. And there's one guy he met there who does everything he can to not interact at all with society, not get captured on camera, lives homelessly, keeps himself clean, spends no money. So, there are some people that really go take this to extremes, but I can't imagine normal people wanting to live like that. Most people want to partake in society. We just want to have, we want a fair and equitable society, as in equitable opportunity and not discrimination. And understanding that if you work hard and merit, then you can achieve. That's kind of the civilization we aspire to. Sadly, I think we're losing it. So, is paying taxes with Silver Bull a privilege? You can't have one without the other. And what did I reply to him? I said they're not the same. You can be taxed without work. Look at the wealth tax they're proposing. And John says GST on everything. John Diamond says sell and move to Asia. No wealth tax then. For now. So let's have a look at what Carl's saying. For those that answered a right, ask yourself, is providing someone else a job a responsibility or not? So I think we're starting to see two approaches to this. One could argue that by saying that having a job is a right, there should be no impediments to that beyond someone's individual control to allow them to get a job. Okay, so all of the argument I keep going back to because it's the most topical and relevant is positive discrimination. So you've got certain groups discriminated against to preference other groups. So the fact that is in place, there's certain parts where your merit and your achievements will be ignored based on other defining characteristics that are beyond your control, I'd say that takes or diminishes your right to get that job. We've all seen the adverts, whether women only should apply. And, in certain circumstances, I can understand, based on the particular job, why you would have a preference for one gender or, as opposed to another. But it's just getting stupid now. It really is just racism, and it's driven by low expectations. I'll put that forward, and let's just say that's an axiom that we can agree upon. Now, I think we could all agree that that is a right, that the government shouldn't impede someone's ability to get a job. But they're doing that all the time, really, aren't they? With all their interventions, all their rules, all their regulations, even the minimum wage. Is the minimum wage an impediment to people's right to get a job? There's an interesting one for you. I might put that as a question to everyone. And here's the other thing. Because Carl is like me. He's going, a job, is providing someone else a job a responsibility or not? Because when you give someone a job, that is a responsibility you're taking on. That's your own risk that you're putting forward. The problem is in the big megacorps or in the government, people don't realize that that's what it is. They don't see it. And the way they spend money in some of those organizations, maybe they don't understand. So Fluff is saying, are rights or privileges? That's what you should be asking Heise. Are rights or privileges? That's a good point. Because if you issue rights to particular people, does that then become a privilege? A very good little point I'll give you like there. So, here we go, Glenn. I like Glenn's response. So, hi Florian. I think it goes without saying that having a job, whether as an employee or being self-employed, is a privilege and an assertion of independence and self-reliance. I agree with that. For these willing folks, the idea of a job being a right is repugnant and repulsive. I think 70% of people who voted on this may agree with it there. Instinctively, it's disgusting. Really. To your very core, the idea of a job being a right, it just doesn't sit well. To have a job, profession or career, mandated as a right smacks of government control and interference in poor old Joe and Jane Blogg's lives. If we were to take this line of reasoning further to the nth degree, such government interference would also dictate against the constitutional rights of sundowner pickers and door bludgers to be wastes of skin and layabouts. So there you go. I mean, what Glenn's saying, it's the same thing as our other friend that was saying, NP. In a true socialist society, a job is mandatory. So that's the natural evolution of it. What did Alan say? A man has a right to golden soil and wealth for toil. Privileges are for slaves. What do you reckon, everyone? What do you think? John. Yeah, those 10-year-olds in Bangladesh making my Nikes for 5 cents a day are the epitome of privileged. Well, to be brutally honest, some of those people in countries that you look down upon may have a better quality of life than a lot of Australians. Think about it. You've got to think of the purchasing power of what they're earning. And sure, okay, Nikes for 5. People always go to the sweatshops for Nike and Apple. And yeah, I mean, it's horrific. Apple is legitimately now, they're trying to fight against legislation that will hold them accountable for forced labor. And forced labor, I agree with. We should ensure that, well, that we're not taking advantage of it. But how many people actually talk the talk and walk the walk? How many people, I remember working with all these bloody hipster douches that cared about they were so worried the world was coming to an end, they'd go around, turn off every bloody screen. What really got me angry was double printing paper. When you print drawings, you want one drawing on one page, you don't want it on another because it bleeds through and looks horrible. So they'd manually set up all the printers in the office to double print A4, which is useless for architecture, okay? Now, I rarely print work. I will look at it on the screen. I'll print a PDF on the screen and I'll mark it up there. But they were all printing paper and paper, and they thought they were saving the environment because they were double printing. And I explained, it'd be better if you just looked at the screen, because the amount of water used to produce one ream of paper is quite significant. There's a lot of embodied energy in that. But no, well, we're recycling. Oh, it pissed me off to no end. So, I agree. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Australia here. And, some of the Filipinos that come over and work on the fruit picking, earning below all the penalty rates, they go home and they'll pay for a year's worth of education for their child, or they'll extend or buy a house for their money. I think our cost of living have shot up through the moon. So what's MacDad said? You have the privilege of having a job. You have the right to work for someone you want to work for. Good point. Rachel G. Or Rach G. I'm assuming it's Rachel. To seek a job, income, or life's necessities, which is what the job is for, is the right. To find one is a privilege. There you go. Jeff, if you think a job is a right, become self-employed. Yeah, that's a reality check right there. Often when you have to find work, create it out of nowhere, get paid, chasing, invoicing, pay your own expenses, pay your own tax. Pay your own tax. This is why I think we need to have a pay-as-you-go holiday for a quarter, and everyone has to send their own taxes in. So they realize it's the only way for people to learn how much they're taking from you. So, Blinky Bill, neither in the Western world an income is a necessity. So it's a necessity. Yeah, true. Scott said it's an opportunity. A job is an opportunity. I like that. I like his perspective there. That's good. To see it in such a light. That's smart. Fox is saying, in these days, even being a burger flipper, if you're lucky. Yeah, I mean, having a job with a recession is good. That's the thing. Ziardi says, if a job is a right, can the unemployed sue the government for a job? Well, see, I think the risk is if a job becomes a right, the government will mandate jobs to people. So it'll be like other extremely centrally controlled authoritarian regimes where you're assigned a job and you have to go and do it. Ready, Steady is saying, Reed Atlas shrugged, a job is neither. You can take the opportunity to work and seek fair compensation for your efforts from an employer, a customer, or trade partner, nothing more, nothing less. Neither party is privileged, and neither party has a right to your work or your compensation. He's right. Doesn't feel like it, though, in Australia right now. A lot of people think. One thing you've got to understand, when you get something free from the government, or when you expect something free from the government, or whether you assert something as a right from the government that you have, if it is provided for the government for free, that means it is labor taken from someone else under duress to provide that. So Roy, neither. It's a voluntary trade. A job is a privilege from Mick Formesh. A job is a privilege for your employer. Omnipotent Peace Man. Wow, that's scary that 20% think it's a right. Well, I think it's more like 30% now. Marshall Bacon. Tax is theft, so having a job and paying income tax is punishment. Gort55 said it's neither. MDT depends on how hard you've worked on the skills that someone is happy to pay for. Nothing is a right. Even baby deer gets slaughtered by the claws of a mountain lion. God wins. That is all you need to know. John, how the F could it be a right? We're not quite a socialist country yet. Not yet, mate, but we'll get there. Agnes is going, no jab, no job coming. What are people saying? Yeah, well, I see this for government health facilities. There you go. Chris is going, like happy times, it should speak for itself without the use of force. Lost Traveller. The only right in this country is the right to legal representation, full stop. Human rights are non-existent. Robert is asking why, and I think we've addressed that. Darkly is saying it's neither. Michael is going, you have the right to work, not a job. Catman's saying it's a waste of life. Depends. I mean, what are some people who aren't working doing with their life? It depends on your job, really. Louis thinks it should be a right. QWERTY is swearing. And I don't know what reason why. Left, right. Of course it's a right. They can control the money supply and all laws surrounding our lives. They can surely control creation and destruction. Well, there you go. I mean, he's making the argument. We're in such a planned economy. Surely they can just create jobs. But that takes it to another step. That's danger. That's very dangerous and heading down socialism. Steve's, but, you know, we may end up there with the way everything's going. So Steve is saying it's both, but leans towards privilege. Muzzle flashes going. After government mandates crush and put an end to most small and medium businesses, the right to have a job doesn't matter, and only the privileged few will have jobs. As for the rest of us, we'll be up the creek together, and a paddle will cost $1 million. Well, if a paddle's a house, it'll probably cost 1.2, mate. Mozzie, I would have said a job is a privilege, but the alternative is coercive government welfare paid for by other taxpayers. Hardly a choice. How does one pay for all those government fees, taxes, and licensing without a form of income? There you go. Okay. So Stephen is going, for office boffins, politicians, it's a privilege. For manual workers, it's a right. We trash our bodies so the clowns in the offices can lead the good life, just like manual workers should retire early, paid. Generally, we die younger for a reason, and you can't trash your body and not pay. Well, that's probably why all my tradie mates get off the tools eventually. Although one's getting right back on it. Josh Hanley, wow, 70% of polling gain their job through nepotism. I guess we aren't as meritocratic as we think we are here in the West. No wonder we're eating up this authoritarianism hook, line, and sinker. And I replied to Joshua going, I think it's got more to do with how people treat a job. Or do you think, is it a sign that 70% got it through nepotism? So, Kiss his, I'm not going to say that because YouTube won't like it. The birds don't have a job, but our Heavenly Father takes care of them. And my response was, well, they do have a job, is to get food. And here we go, Glenn. My good, great friend, your comment really is a non sequitur. Human beings aren't birds. Unlike the carefree existence that birds have, we humans are all highly interdependent on each other as social creatures for each other's specialized employment and services to each other for our very existence. I fully understand the biblical reference, my friend, but it is true it is a bit out of place here. God must have a really good reason for not having created you and me as birds. I say this tongue-in-cheek in a humorous reference to 1 Corinthians 1:25. So Glenn put a whole much more effort into his response than I did. Good on you, mate. Thank you. So, TM, a job is a right. How is a job a privilege? A privilege is not having to get up every morning to that annoying alarm clock to go to work. I think you'd be bored. What happens to all the men that die in retirement? What did I reply here? Oh, I asked TM if he's ever given someone a job before. There's the thing. That's the question too. When you give someone a job, it feels like they should appreciate it. That's what I hate about people having to pay people super when they don't even see it. So ordinary Cecil, both the USSR and previous German enterprises had universal labor obligations. Everyone had to work for the state. It had some merit, but the historical precedents are not without issues. Perhaps people should have a mandatory job with the government unless they have a job elsewhere. That heads down the path of a utopian fantasy, I would say. The price is too high. What did I say? How about not all government jobs are crap? Hunger is a good motivator for work. And I'll let you finish that that trend up, guys. So, John, if you want to work, there should be a job for everyone. If you want to work but cannot get a job, what's the point in living? As you can get no pleasure from life, as you will never be able to do anything worthwhile or have dreams, as you have no money. And I think John's obsessing a little. I can understand where he's coming from, but I think he's obsessing a little bit too much about money there. You don't need much to be happy. And here we go. Here's Isaac, and he actually pissed me off a bit, to be honest. He's going, it's slavery. A job is slavery. So what did I... You expect stuff for free. And I've had a few people refer to jobs as slavery or working as slavery, and they've said it even on the other one about the calls workers. I find it quite offensive considering we're actually, there is real slavery here in Australia right now, guys. If it's a voluntary exchange where you can leave, it's not slavery. You may feel like you're getting taken advantage of, but that just means you got to change where you're working, guys. So there we have it. 70% of people think a job is a privilege, while 30% think it is a right. What do you reckon, everyone? Let us know in the community here. And I think the next question, the next poll I will ask is, do you think maybe about the minimum wage? Do you think the minimum wage stopped people from getting a job? What do you think? We'll see. We'll see how people take that one. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and thanks for participating in this poll. I think it's good just to see what people think in different perspectives. And like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays or Teespring, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time.